The grand oak doors of the courthouse creaked open as a tense silence filled the air. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. A high-profile case was reaching its climax, a case that had divided the town and put 2 lives on the line. But no one could have predicted that an unlikely hero, a stray dog, would step in and change everything. The case of Samuel Carter versus Nathan Reeves had captured headlines for months. Samuel, a young, struggling mechanic, was accused of a crime he swore he didn't commit, the robbery of an elderly woman's home. The only evidence against him was circumstantial, but Nathan, the town's respected businessman, had testified that he saw Samuel fleeing the scene. With no alibi and Nathan's word against his, Samuel's fate seemed sealed. The judge, an elderly but sharp-eyed woman named Judge Harris, was known for her fair rulings. Still, even she could not ignore the lack of solid evidence. The courtroom waited with bated breath as the final verdict was about to be delivered. Then, in an instant, everything changed. Just as Judge Harris lifted her gavel, a commotion at the back of the courtroom turned heads. A scruffy, mud-covered stray dog trotted in, tail wagging but eyes sharp and focused. Gasps rippled through the room as the dog made its way past security, moving straight toward Nathan Reeves. The bailiffs rushed to remove the animal, but the dog barked, fixing its eyes on Nathan. Then, to everyone's shock, it lunged, not to attack but to grab the bottom of Nathan's expensive coat, growling and tugging at the fabric insistently. Nathan, clearly rattled, tried to shake the dog off, but the determined animal refused to let go. The courtroom erupted in whispers. What was happening? Why was this dog so fixated on Nathan? Judge Harris, sensing something unusual, raised her hand to silence the murmurs. Mr. Reeves, do you know this dog? She asked, narrowing her eyes. Nathan scoffed. Of course not. It's just a filthy stray. But then, something shifted. A keen observer in the room, Officer Jenkins, recognized the dog. This is the same dog that's been hanging around the crime scene, Jenkins stated. I remember it from the security footage. The courtroom held its breath as the pieces began to connect. The dog had been there the night of the robbery. It must have seen something the rest of them had missed. The dog, still gripping Nathan's coat, gave a final yank. In doing so, a small piece of fabric fell from inside the lining. A single torn thread of a knitted scarf. The scarf that had belonged to the elderly woman who had been robbed. A collective gasp swept the room. Samuel's attorney acted fast. Your Honor, this dog may have just provided new evidence. That piece of fabric, doesn't it prove that Mr. Reeves himself was at the crime scene? Nathan's face went pale. He opened his mouth to protest, but before he could speak, the dog let out a series of sharp barks. It was as if it knew. As if it was demanding justice. Under the weight of mounting evidence, Nathan collapsed into his seat, hands trembling. Fine, he muttered. Fine. I was there that night. But I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I just needed the money. The room exploded in disbelief. Samuel sat frozen, his heart pounding. He had come so close to losing his freedom, all because of a false witness. But a stray dog, a creature without a home, without a voice, had saved him. Judge Harris, her expression unreadable, banged her gavel. Mr. Reeves, you are hereby placed under arrest for perjury and for your involvement in the crime. Bailiff, take him away. As Nathan was escorted out in handcuffs, the dog, still wagging its tail, turned to Samuel and sat at his feet as if it had always belonged there. After the trial, Samuel adopted the stray, naming him Justice. The town, shaken by the revelation, rallied behind Samuel, and donations poured in to help him rebuild his life. As for Nathan, he served his sentence, but even he couldn't forget the dog that had undone his lie. Years later, when he was released, he sought out Samuel, hoping for redemption. To his surprise, Samuel offered him a job at his newly opened garage, a second chance, just as Justice had given him. 2 lives were forever changed that day in court, all because of a stray dog who refused to let the truth be buried. And as Samuel always said, sometimes the most unexpected heroes have the loudest voices, even when they don't speak a word.
If you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and press the bell icon.